And we are back, Fantasy Football Junkies. Thanks for joining us. It's the three-man panel right here. Jon Lopuch, you are the middle tier of the three-man pyramid, dog.
All right. Good times.
Yeah, exactly.
Did I miss the last segment? I mean, I went outside for a second, and I got jumped by Odell Thurman. Chris Henry was thrown up in the bushes.
Yeah. Levi Jones was playing blackjack over in the corner.
Man.
Yeah.
I missed the whole segment. What the heck?
Yeah, well, we're going to talk a little bit more about those Bengals at the end of this segment, but right now we're going to dive right in, talk about some of the matchups. It's a busy week, number 11 in the NFL. And when you talk about big-name fantasy players stepping to the forefront, the first matchup we've got to talk about this week is Terrell Owens and the Dallas Cowboys playing host to the Washington Redskins. T.O. blew up last week, Jeff. What do you think about your boy?
He's going crazy again. It's nice to see, you know. He had a little bit of a down time last season in Dallas, you know, not that great. But with the emergence of Tony Romo, the connection that those guys have, he's been just absolutely stellar. He hasn't been flapping his gums, and not a whole lot of dancing, which I would like to see. You know, some TO moves in the end zone.
They fine him now.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's sad a little bit, you know, the no fun league in full effect. But I do like Terrell Owens this weekend on the fantasy field against the Washington Redskins. I think he's going to be good for about 100 yards and a touchdown. He's a electric type guy, so he could get more than that.
Especially all those injuries in the Redskins secondary. I think that's an important thing to note. They've suffered a lot of injuries at cornerback. Carlos Rogers is out. Sean Taylor's out. I think it's going to be a very easy week for T.O.
Yeah.
And Romo, too. I mean, last week Jason Witten was kind of taken out of the game plan. You got to keep Witten in your lineup here. He didn't have a big week last week, but, you know, it just seems like he has such a good chemistry with Tony Romo. Realistically, I think all the Cowboys in the passing game should be in play here.
Not Patrick Creighton. Realistically, he's the kind of guy who he'll do well one week, which was last week, and then he disappears. So I think T.O. is going to get the love. And I also like Marion Barber to run the ball very well here in this game, too.
Now, when Washington has the ball, John, they've really struggled to pass. Last week they came out, and Patrick Ramsey, who's their quarterback?
Jason
Campbell, I'm sorry. Jason Campbell was on fire through three touchdowns.
Is their corner.
I think they called up Doug Williams.
It's been pretty forgettable, so that's kind of the point. But last week they got their passing game going. Will they be able to move the ball offensively against Dallas? Because if they can't, they're going to get blown out.
There is absolutely nobody in that passing game outside of Chris Cooley that I trust. Jason Campbell's a nice player. He's developing well. I don't trust him in a fantasy league this week especially. Those receivers, James Thrash, Santana Moss, Antoine Randall, unless you're in some sort of 14-team league or you got to start 4 receivers, something where you're really going deep into the receiver pool, I don't start a single Redskins receiver this week.
What about Art Monk?
I love Art Monk. I think he's going to do very well this week.
Well, they lost their fantastic wide receiver, Brandon Lloyd, to a season-ending injury. So all you guys who've been riding him all year.
I don't often use the word
off.
tragedy when it comes to injuries, but Brandon Lloyd's injury was
But realistically, everybody, Clint Portis has been doing very well. A $137 last week. He should be getting the things rolling again on the ground here. And then Chris Cooley, you really got to continue with him because as the red zone threat goes, he's a great tight end target.
So moving on to the next matchup, it is an AFC North showdown. The Cleveland Browns, yes, the Cleveland Browns looked great last week against Pittsburgh, scoring 28 points against a solid defense. Baltimore is a team that we've accustomed to seeing play good defense, but really their defense has kind of crumbled of late. I don't know, guys. Am I wrong here, John? But I think Cleveland's about to put up some big points.
I absolutely love the Cleveland offense this week. Baltimore's had a lot of problems in the secondary with injuries, a lot like the Redskins, actually. So Braylon Edwards is definitely a play. Kellen Winslow's definitely a play. Derek Anderson's definitely a play. Also, Joe Jurevicius, if you're in a touchdown-heavy league where you're maybe starting 3 receivers, he's definitely a guy to consider. He's scored in his last 2 games against Baltimore. All those guys are definitely plays this week.
Also, the last time these two teams met, Braylon Edwards popped a fat 78-yard bomb touchdown. And so I think that he could get going again, although they'll probably roll the double coverage. They're still dealing with the secondary injuries. So Braylon Edwards, a fantastic player who's a must-start week in, week out. And then, you know, it is the homecoming for Jamal Lewis. So I do think that in front of the Baltimore fans, he's going to bring his A game.
Yeah, and Jamal Lewis has been serviceable. A couple weeks back had 4 touchdowns from inside the 2-yard line, so he could get a short score in a similar type game. I think his yardage total might be contained just because the one thing Baltimore can do on either side of the ball is still they can stuff the run a little bit. But when you talk about Baltimore's offense, Jeff, they're just abhorrent.
Yeah, there really isn't any good plays in my opinion. Willis McGahee, probably if you have him, you're leaning on him heavily, so you got to start him here. And Cleveland plays horrible defense still. So until Romeo Crennel gets some better athletes on his defense, I think that they're going to continue to allow points. So Willis does make a nice start, and I think that the Ravens are going to put up about 16 to 21 points. So Willis will get the love.
Now the Ravens have went with a quarterback change this week. John, do you think that sitting Steve McNair down was the right decision, and will Kyle Bowler be able to get something going? Because, I mean, honestly, McNair can't throw the ball further than like 9 yards downfield.
No, I don't like him this week. I don't like Bowler this week, especially in fantasy leagues. That being said, McNair was even worse. He was playing absolutely terrible. He was hurt, so it's the best thing is to let him get healed, give him the few weeks off that he needs. Maybe he comes back if the Ravens feel they're still in the playoff hunt by then. They give him a few more chances to keep that starting job going into next year. However, give Bowler the next few weeks. Let McNair get healthy, sort it out after that.
You know, guys, I know we need to move on, but this is a game that we don't normally get a chance to pick Cleveland to win. I think Cleveland's going to win, and I'd like to know, what your prediction would be as far as the victor in this game.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there that Cleveland's going to win.
On the road against Baltimore.
Exactly. Baltimore with that pass defense that's been hurt by injuries, I think Cleveland's in perfect position to exploit that. However, Baltimore is not in any position to exploit Cleveland's weaknesses on defense.
Yeah, I like Cleveland in this game as well. I mean, if you've been onto our website at Testosterone Fantasy Sports or TestosteroneSports.com, either name will work. Check out my writers page. I've got a posting on there kind of talking about how I've jumped onto the Browns bandwagon. I've got Derek Anderson in the Testosterone Ultimate Fantasy Football League. I've been riding him hard here, and I know Big Ben roasted Baltimore's D for 5 touchdowns a couple weeks back, so it's party time for Cleveland.
Well, we know you like Derek Anderson with his size 17 shoe. If you're on the bandwagon, I want to know, are you playing the skin flute, bro?
No, it's definitely man love, but I won't go that far. Now, the Giants are going to be facing the Detroit Lions this weekend in a game that really has a lot of playoff implications. The Lions, if the playoffs started right now, they would be in, as would the Giants, but this game kind of has it's kind of a tricky spot here for Detroit, and after this matchup, they have a really grisly schedule coming up. So, John, tell me, is this where the Lions kind of implode and start looking like the Lions?
I don't know if they implode, but this is a very difficult matchup for them. The Giants have 2 pass rushers on the edge that can really get to the quarterback. Their big weakness for the Lions has been protecting John Kitna. I think that's really going to manifest itself this week. Kitna's going to be a little bit of a disappointment this week. However, in many fantasy leagues, you have him as a starter. If you don't have any depth there, feel free to put Kitna in the lineup. That being said, if there's somebody else you got there, maybe if you picked up a Derek Anderson, or maybe if you got Eli Manning late, those are guys that I would start ahead of John Kitna this week. And because he's going to be pestered so much, I don't expect a whole lot yardage-wise from the Detroit passing game as well.
Talk about the Detroit running game.
With the injury to Kevin Jones, he's got the foot injury going. I just get the feeling they're going to have a hard time running the football. Not only that, but the Giants are popping on all cylinders on the offensive side of things. I think they're going to run the ball really well. So in my opinion, Detroit's going to have to throw the ball to win. And I think it's going to be a long day for the Detroit offense. Even though they're at home, I do like the Giants in this game.
Yeah, I like the Giants as well. I mean, they got beat at home against the Cowboys last week. Clearly, the Cowboys are a cut above them in this division. We kind of knew that going in. The Cowboys just reminded us of that last week. But the Giants team is a solid running team, and when you can run the ball like they can, you can dominate a game like this against Detroit. And we kind of wondered at the beginning of the season if this Giants offense was really going to miss Tiki Barber. If you look at their stats right now, they are slightly ahead of where they were last year at this point as far as total rushing yardage. So I think they'll be able to run the ball easily. You want to get Brandon Jacobs in your lineup here. And I think Jeremy Shockey is now starting to heat up. I've been telling you he's going to get hot for a while now. He had a great game last week, and Plaxico Burress kind of still dealing with that ankle injury and has come out and said that it's not improving, not getting better. His stats have really dropped off since the beginning of the season. So I look for more of Eli to Shockey, although Burress still has to be in play here for your fantasy teams.
If Burress plays.
Right.
Yeah, Monty Toomer then becomes a very interesting play. Even if Burris isn't deactivated, the fact that he's hurt, like you said, not only is he not getting better, he's saying the ankle is getting worse. Toomer's a sleeper start, this week. He could be sleepy too. I don't know. I don't know his coffee.
Burris always looks sleepy, you know, like he's been
disinterested is the word you're looking for.
Yeah, disinterested or high.
But we know it's not a tumor. That's for
hungry.
Sure. Tennessee traveling to Denver to face the Broncos. Denver, a team I just can't figure out, guys. Some weeks they look great, like last week when they took it to the Kansas City Chiefs, and then some weeks they just fall apart completely. Which Broncos team are we going to see here this week, John?
The poor one. I think Tennessee goes into Denver and picks up a win. Travis Henry's probably not going to play. He's got a knee injury. Does not look good there. Even if he does play, he's obviously going to be slowed down. I don't trust that passing game, and Tennessee's got a very good defense. And guess what? The weakness for the Broncos is running the run defense. The strength of the Tennessee offense, running the ball.
Yeah. You know, I actually like Denver in this game. And the big reason why, I'll tell you, is because they haven't been running the ball well. Well, they got Selvin Young going last weekend. And I think that if they're able to get their new young running back going in this game, that it's gonna open up a lot of things. It's never easy to play at Mile High. And I just think that the Titans are a little bit hungover off the tough loss to the Jags.
Yeah, well, in this matchup, I'm not going to pick a winner, but I will say that I think Lindale White is a must-play here for fantasy owners. Last week, he left the game early, finished with some disappointing stats, but he seems like a guy who gets up for a chance to make a name for himself.
He had 3 100-yard games before that. Ryan Grant's breakout game was against the Broncos. Teams run on the Broncos. I think they can control the clock, and I think they're going to feed Lindale the ball 25 times.
Arizona traveling to Cincinnati to face a team that put up 21 points last week on 7 field goals. Will the Bengals get in the end zone this week against Arizona? They're at home, and they kind of feel, Jeff, like they're starting to show some signs of life.
Well, to me, Arizona's riding real high off a big victory from last weekend. I know they kind of had to hang on against a tough Detroit team, but Ken Whisenhunt, Russ Grimm starting to make a nice impact for that team, and I think they're going to come with their A game, but I do like their opponent to win this game. Cincinnati at home, they got to get started someplace, and Arizona can't stop the pass, so eventually Carson Palmer's going to start hooking up with his wide receivers.
What do you think, John? Who's going to win this game, and what are the best fantasy plays here?
I definitely agree. I think Cincinnati is going to win this game. They've got too much depth in the receiving core. We talked about Chris Henry before. I think they can really take advantage of an inconsistent Arizona offense. You definitely have to get your regular Bengals in there. If you got to go running back, I think out of the Bengals, I think you go Rudy Johnson. Got 20 carries last week. He's going. It's only if you have to go.
Talk about a bust.
Exactly, but he's going to get the goal line carries. This week. As for Arizona, go with obviously Cincinnati is a terrible secondary.
Right.
They've given up a league high 15, I believe, passes for touchdown. Receiver touchdowns, even more to tight ends there. I think that's definitely a way to go. Either one of those guys, if you've got Bolden or Fitzgerald, go that route there. And then obviously Kurt Warner's another guy that you have to start.
Yeah, Kurt Warner played really well last week and has a great matchup here as well. So
Edge James too. Obviously, we're talking about the running game.
We hope you're enjoying this episode. It's week number 11. We want to take this moment to invite you after the show is over to jump on our website, testosteronesports.com. We do this thing on there called the Fat Chat. Jeff, tell the people at home what they can expect if they come on after the show.
Well, if you come on to the Fat Chat, several of us from the website will be on there to just chat about you, get to know everybody a little bit, and just discuss who makes good start. You know, coaching is so important in fantasy football. You know, you don't want to leave any points on your bench. Everybody's been known to leave enough points on their bench to lose. You know what I'm saying? And so we try to, help everybody out. And also, I like to get everybody else's opinion on who I should start. And then also with the trading deadline just around the corner, we'll share with you guys, who we think would be smart trade bait for you guys.
Yeah, I'm going to be on there asking a question this weekend of you, the fantasy junkies out there. Come online onto the Fat Chat, testosteronesports.com, and tell me, do I start Derek Anderson or do I start Kurt Warner? I got a must-win game this week, and it's a toss-up for me here, guys. So check it out. After the show, we're going to take a brief break, and we'll be back to break down some more matchups. Testosterone Fantasy Sports, locked and loaded. What's up, fantasy football junkies? It's Jesse. You're checking us out behind the scenes on the set of Testosterone Fantasy Sports, the #1 fantasy football show for prognostication in the Twin Cities area on cable access. You want to make sure you check out our website as well while you're here looking at the show, go online, testosteronesports.com. There's so much stuff on there for you content-wise. You want to see the rankings, you want to see the writers' pages, but above all, you want to see this video content that we put out there updated on a weekly basis. So if you missed the show, check it out online at testosteronesports.com.
Hey everybody, we'd really like to thank all of our supporters. We here at Testosterone Sports put a lot of effort into the production that we do on a weekly basis. Go on there, specifically come onto the Fat Chat. You get a chance to interact with all of us, with other people around the Twin Cities. We just love fantasy football, and it's something that we do on a regular basis, so check it out. Join with us to win in your league. It's something we love, and we just appreciate everything that you guys do to join in to be the fourth member of Testosterone.
Can't get enough of the yeast or all these guys. You have rants and raves you want to read. Check out our writers pages on the website, testosteronesports.com. I go off on a weekly basis. Jeff brags about how good his team is in our league. Jesse has some crazy stuff on there. There's a guy named Will who drops some things I can't talk about on television. Check out our writers pages, testosteronesports.com, for a little more of the yeast.